Today we're going to go on a trip to the Cox Arboretum. I wondered if they still have a lot of Hypertufas like they have in years past. Now this is in Dayton, Ohio. It's a big arboretum, 174 acres, and it's part of the Five Rivers Metroparks, as you can see. Great big place to go visit. You can spend hours and hours and even days touring this place. So pretty. I recommend it. Free parking, everything. But it is just a wonderful place to visit. Butterflies, flowers, all kinds of things to look at. A 65-foot tower to climb and look down on all the trees, ponds, everything you'd like to see. And in several years past, I have been up on the hill that is opposite I guess you call it a pond. And there were a lot of Hypertufa containers up there years ago. And I love to go see those and get inspiration from those. So I really wanted to see what they looked like. This is a view from them across the pond. And so there are walking trails, even trails for wheelchairs, that type thing that you can go to. Now that hill is there were some paths over there that you could roll over. And then there were a lot of little trails that you can go in and out. Now, at my age, I had to be a little bit careful because I'm not as limber as I used to be, climbing over rocks and all that kind of stuff. So I had to be a little bit careful. But it's just gorgeous here. Now, I don't know if I recognized a lot. That's either wisteria with sweet autumn clematis. I'm not sure. I think there was another view of it, and I thought it might be sumac, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. Now this, I'm thinking, is a buckeye tree. I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. But then again, you let me know in the comments what you think it might be. But those do look like buckeye. It looks like a buckeye leaf, and it's not a sweet gum. I had a sweet gum in my yard, so with similar balls that are a little bit prickly looking. But isn't this a pretty one? I think that is ironweed. And again, let me know. That is really pretty. It had so many bees and everything flying around it. It's something I'd be interested in having in my garden up along the fence. Now these rock walls I love, and this succulent that's in there, it looks like my sedum emigrantium that I love. It blooms in yellow flowers in the spring, sometimes again in the fall, or it's a sedum, however you say that, a Russian stonecrop. They look so similar, and I think I've read that they're hybrids. One or the other is a hybrid of the other. Don't know which it would be. But I have a lot of that. And that, I think, is some kind of a catmint. I'm not real sure of some of these. So whether you've been there or you can recognize that just by sight, let me know. But since catmint does like to spread all over the place, I'm assuming that's catmint. Real pretty rocks and things like that. Benches to sit on. Irises. This, I'm not sure that this is specifically designated as a pollinator garden, but it has so many plants and flowers. And a lot of these I have at home. The coneflowers, I love those. Now this being early September, a lot of these, are kind of past their prime. That looks like an allium or a clove, I'm not sure. That's pretty. I think that is some kind of rudbeckia. My little ID said autumn sun, so I'm not sure. Now I think that's some kind of a sedum there. It didn't look delicate enough to be yarrow, so I'll say that's a sedum. Pretty. It's a nice plant. And usually it is also covered in bumblebees. Now that must be another kind of rutabaga, or it could be a cup plant. It said the leaves come together on the stem like a cup, so that seems to be similar to what that plant may be described as. Now, I love this area. I'd not really been familiar with this kind of a plant, a plumbago or leadwort. It was so pretty, real bluish purple flowers, and then the little bracts or something were orangey red looking. And when I read about it, it said they turn orangey red in the fall. And since we're dropping into the 40s around here, it really could be. Now that's like my coreopsis at home, but we're badly in need of rain here, and that needs a good trim and reflush. That looks like more of that cup plant, if that's the cup plant. Not real sure. And perhaps that's a little watering area, or I don't know if that's maybe to let your dog get a drink. Don't know. Now, I've grown Baptisia before, wild indigo, and I like it in the fall when its little seed pods look like rattles. I think I've heard it called rattlesnake plant before, and that's why, because those things just shake and rattle like a rattlesnake. And of course, there's milkweed pods all over the place. More of that plumbago, leadwort. There's irises all over. Look at all these plants in here. Now this looks like anemones, because you can recognize those little flower buds all over the place. And of course they have spread, like I've been warned they might do at my home. But it looks real pretty. And please correct me if you notice anything wrong, just let me know in the comments, because I like to know what kind of plant I'm looking at. More wild indigo. I've got to visit this next May or June to see what all this looks like in its spring glory. Pretty, pretty plants. And right now, with this bedraggled hot summer we've had, you know, they could be in better shape, of course. This looks like a bunch of peonies. I bet that would be glorious in May. I do have to come back. I do intend to come back in these next few months, just to get it before everything, you know, gets died out over the winter here in Ohio. Maybe I'll make some more films. Those should burst open soon and let out a lot of seeds. Now this apparently is some type of hibiscus, at least that's what the flower looks like. And over there in the distance you can see some red hibiscus, but it has a strange leaf that I don't recognize. Now I am kind of toward the top of this hill where they have the stacked stone. And in my younger years, maybe I could traipse back down that hill, kind of jumping down the stacked stone ledges, but not at this age. I can't do anything like that. What a gorgeous hibiscus. Peonies all over the place. And you can see these little paths here that you can follow. They do have an ending where you can kind of plop down on the next level, but not me. I'm not going to do this. A pretty archway or arbor surrounded by hydrangea. Gorgeous. But we'll take that path at another time. Look at those pretty lamb's ears. Little ones, not floppy damp ones. Now that looks like a Chinese lantern or ground cherry. I'm not sure, I've not grown those, so I don't know. I would like to see this during iris bloom time, because I think that would be pretty. Now I'm not sure what this is, but it had the tiniest little purple flowers. I tried to get close enough and let it focus. I don't know if that's baby's breath or status. I'm not sure. Let me know what that is, because I think that's really pretty and I'd like to try and grow that. But give me some warning if we're talking about invasive things. I really don't need more invasives. And this was the first Hypertufa that I saw on this trip. And they do look like they've gone into a period of neglect. And perhaps it's their staffing here. They just don't have the staff to keep things cleaned out, pruned, taken care of. And the watering in this vast of an area, you'd have to have just depend on the rain. Look at that gorgeous, I think that's a mugo pine, I'm not sure. But there's more of the tufas. You can see how they've held up over the years. It looks like this one was formed over a plastic container of some kind. But the patina of it on the outside looks so ancient and old. And of course it's got a sedum in it. Probably some of the sedum John Creech, dragon's blood, some of that. It would last through a nuclear holocaust, I think. That one is really, really overgrown with weeds, but still pretty. And I'm not sure, but this looked like a ginkgo to me. Maidenhair tree. I guess there are bushes, or maybe it's just kept trimmed down to a bush. I'm not sure, but if that's something different, let me know. I like that kind of a sedum, but the name escapes me. I can't remember what it is. Another, or the same mugo pine, just coming back the other direction. It's right near the pond, so it takes advantage of, I guess, a lot of water way down from those roots. Another nice, this was about the size of a laundry basket. Makes me want to get out there with a laundry basket and make me another one, like I need another one. But you can see how they're overgrown with weeds, a lot of that prostrate spurge down on the ground around it and into the pot. But really looks nice. Even with weeds in it, they're pretty. I really wanted to start weeding, but I really can't bother anything in this park area. I have to resist the impulse. Look at this one, almost coming overgrown from the little pine, but still looks in good shape. Very, very much weeds in there. But you can see that once upon a time, it probably had a nice coating of thyme, and that thyme is struggling now, probably in the dryness, but I bet it'll be gorgeous next spring. Pretty, pretty areas to sit, look out over the pond, admire the flowers. I'm not sure what that is again. Devil's beggar tick, my plant finder had. A type of Biden's plant, but it was large. And look at the thyme growing down over the rocks. And in that field behind us, looks like geranium, wild geranium. Pretty red flowers. I'd like to have that red geranium, or hot pink, whatever that is. Really looked pretty. Let me know if that's not a geranium. But there was so much back in there. The leaves I could see sure looked like geraniums. The hardy type of geranium, of course. Now that looks like some kind of a blue spruce to me. Pretty. And in such good shape and healthy. I just love the way they sprawled. And another path with more weeds and that, I don't know, crabgrass, whatever that is that takes over this time of year, and more thyme. Oh, I want to pull those weeds out of there so bad. But I can't bother it. It's not mine. I have to leave it alone. Look how pretty. Here's more of a close-up. Now, doesn't that look like a geranium? The geranium flower and the geranium leaf. And that evergreen is so lush. I'm not sure what kind that is, but that is so gorgeous. And then you could see a view of those stacked stone walls with the little intertwining paths. Another tufa in amongst, it looks like, besides the weeds, chunks of some other one that has deteriorated and fallen apart. Look at this one. It's almost buried into the soil. I don't know if that's from the soil shifting or just more weeds and plants just gradually taking over. Looks good though. Look at the tiny iris. I have some of those at home in a tufa. I'm not sure what they are. I think of them as pygmy iris, dwarf iris. And is this some kind of a sumac? I don't know. I just thought because of that weird flower stalk or whatever that is, it didn't seem like a wisteria from this side, but it could be. Look how pretty all this is, the stacked stone. And of course somebody's made that with a, looks like a maple leaf. Looks really good. Lavender was all over the place. Lavender does really, really well in the dryness. That's why I'm adapting to a lot of lavender. That's cute. That looks like some kind of a Bidens or something like that among the weeds, or maybe not. There are a lot of iris. I definitely want to come back. Sorry, I try to avert the camera when somebody goes by. I would like to come back when the iris are in bloom, because this would just be gorgeous. And all that sedum that's in the stacked stone, that stuff grows like crazy. I have a lot of that at home, and it's one of, to me, the most successful sedum. A few more of the Hypertufa troughs. There was so much less than there used to be. And I don't know why. Maybe they fell apart. Maybe they deteriorated, but depending on how they were made, I have some that I know are a lot older than these, and they're still solid. Now that looks like that could be the Russian stonecrop, but maybe it's a saxifrage, however you say that word. And look at this one. Now that tufa, I think, is just a memory. Really pretty. And you could see the little tufts on some of these plants. You know, they do need to be cleaned out, maybe cut back. In the old times, years ago, they had a lot of name tags around everything. But in this area I'm walking today, I just noticed a few name tags. Now, of course, they could be buried under something. That's the one I thought looked like a saxifrage, along with that pinks, or thrift, whatever you'd call that. Now, the iris pumila, the dwarf iris, is what I have in my tufas and what was down in some of these. But my eye didn't find any planted on that cliffside here. Now we're back into more of the Immergrunchen or Russian stonecrop. So many, many plants up in there. It's pretty out here. I do have to come back, since I have barely covered possibly less than 5 acres in my walk over here, probably less than that. But I would like to come back and make a film of some of the other areas because it is too gorgeous. If you're anywhere near this area, Cox Arboretum is a wonderful place to visit. So you might want to take a stroll there some afternoon or cool evening. It's even fun to visit in the winter. But I'll see you on the next video, and thanks for watching.